Good afternoon. The court is going to take up the next case on the court's docket. This is cause number C190072CPS. This is in the interest of Serenity Heaven Rodriguez, a child. The case is set for a permanency hearing and pretrial. The trial is currently set for August 13th, 2021 at 9 a.m. The hearing today is being conducted pursuant to emergency orders of the Texas Supreme Court via Zoom video conference. Participating in the hearing today on behalf of the department is caseworker Trey Davis and Supervisor Isabella Reyes and Regional Attorney Deborah Keenum. The mother of the child is Jeanette Navarro, and she is participating in the hearing today along with her attorney, Brad Harrelson. The father of the child is Gilbert Rodriguez, who is incarcerated in a Texas Department of Criminal Justice facility. He is not present. Todd Simons is appointed as his attorney ad litem, and Mr. Simons is not currently present in the courtroom. The attorney and guardian ad litem for the child is Andrew Graves, and Mr. Graves is present in the courtroom. All right. Ms. Keenum, is the department ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor. I would ask that Ms. Navarro please turn on her camera.
It's on.
Okay, I'm sorry. It wasn't on a minute ago.
All right. Just a second. If y'all stand by for just a second, I'm trying to check on Mr. Simon's status and also Mr. Rodriguez. Y'all stand by. I believe Mr. Simons is be joining us in a moment, and I'm still working to see if Mr. Rodriguez is going to be able to participate. I apologize for the delay. My understanding is the jail is making arrangement for Mr. Rodriguez to be brought, and he'll be joining us shortly. And Mr. Simons, I'm going to take a couple of minute recess here while we're waiting. I apologize for the delay, and then we'll get started. Thank you. If y'all stand by, I believe Mr. Simon should be joining us in a moment. I think he was having some technical difficulties with his computer internet connection. And I believe Mr. Rodriguez should be joining us here. Y'all just stand by for a minute.
Your Honor, this is not related to this case. However, Ms. Keenum is aware of, I apologize for not being able to make it this morning due to conflict with district court. But I think that client was in the waiting room, or at least that's what she told us, just so you're aware of it. I've told Ms. Keenum this as well.
Well, she may have popped up after we got going in the hearing. I didn't see it, but if you confer with her and y'all need to, I don't think we changed anything in the status quo, but if you need to, after you confer with her to request a hearing, we'll certainly reset something as quick as
Yes,
possible.
sir. I knew you'd do that, but I doubt that that's necessary. I was just letting you aware of it, be aware of it.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to go back on the record. This is C190072CPS, and the interest is Serenity Rodriguez, a child. All parties in council previously known as being present are present. And in addition, Gilbert Rodriguez, the father of the child, is present. Todd Simons, who is his attorney ad litem, should be joining us here in just a moment. He's having some internet connection issues, and I'm hoping those will get resolved here in just a moment. If y'all just stand by for a couple more minutes. All right, as I indicated, this is set for a permanency hearing and pretrial. All parties in council previously present remain present. Mr. Simons is present now. If we're ready to proceed, I'm going to ask Mr. Davis and Mr. Rodriguez and Ms. Navarro, if each of you could raise your right hands, please. Each of you solemnly swear or affirm any testimony you give today before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Swear.
I swear.
Thank you. All right, we're ready, Ms. Keenum.
Yes, Your Honor, the department would call Jeanette Navarro.
All right, thank you. Go
Ms.
ahead.
Navarro, please state your name for the record.
Jeanette Navarro.
Do you have any additional names that you need to provide Mr. Davis for consideration that would be relatives or have a prior relationship with Serenity to be considered for placement for Serenity?
I already gave him that information, Ms. Keenum. It was from my cousin, contacted him as well. She's my first blood cousin. She lives out of El Paso, and she has provided Trey Davis with all that information already last week as we speak.
Okay. And so last week you provided Mr. Davis with an additional relative?
Yes, because the ones that I had provided before, which was my father out of El Paso, was never considered. I don't know what happened to that. And then she was placed with my mother and my daughter, but I don't know exactly. I don't communicate with them because of, this situation. So I don't know exactly. I know that my cousin told me that she was moved, and I don't know exactly where she's at. But anyway, that's irrelevant. That's all the information that I have. My cousin.
What is the name of your cousin?
Her name is Lisette. Miriam
What-
Lisette.
What is her last name?
Her, I don't know exactly her last name because of the fact that we don't speak that much, but she contacted me. I can text her right now if you like. Trey has
And
information already though. She's talked to him.
so do you know where she actually lives in El Paso?
No, I don't.
Do you have her actual phone number?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and you've provided that with Trey?
Yes, I gave him his phone number and she said that she contacted him. And she said, yes, I've sent him my information and I haven't heard anything from him. That was this Saturday.
Any other relatives that you need to provide to the department?
I have provided my father. I don't know if you guys still have that on the list or not. I'm not sure, but I did provide my father as well.
Besides your father and Lisette, last name unknown, do you have any other relatives to provide?
Besides my mom and my daughter, Dominic, no.
On what day was Tamaka diagnosed with COVID?
At the time, I wouldn't be able to tell you that. I only know about my results and my situation. I don't know, ma'am. You would have to talk to him about that.
Are you diagnosed positive for COVID?
No, ma'am, but I am quarantined.
And on what day were you quarantined?
Let me look at that information. I sent it to Trey and to my probation officer as well. Give me a minute. On 7/21/2020, patient Jeanette Navarro, 38 years of old, female, presented, tested, COVID-19 tested and quarantined for, let's see. It says for 3 weeks until I get my new results. So I have to take another test, ma'am. Now he is positive and his results and information is through the VA. Mine's through Shannon.
Now, when we talked yesterday, you're no longer employed with UPS. Is that correct?
Correct.
Since yesterday, have you found employment?
No, ma'am, I'm still receiving the unemployment through the Texas Workforce Commission. And like I said, I submitted 2 applications recently. That was through the Blue Cross Blue Shield and also through the ADAC drug screening place. When I went up there to do my screening, I seen that they were hiring, so I decided, why not? Let me apply.
And you completed your ADAC screening, is that correct?
That is correct.
Was that completed on July the 23rd of 2021?
I'm not sure, ma'am. I would have to look through it, or Trey has it.
Was that screening completed in person?
No, I did it through the phone.
How did you see that ADAC was hiring?
They have a sign outside. They've been having one for a minute. What is it in reference to, ma'am? I'm confused.
So they have a sign outside of where?
Out of their office. And they also have it on the jobs, the jobposting.com, careers.com. I mean, they have them anywhere. Did I leave my house? Is that what you want to know? You can ask me that.
As far as your parenting, have you begun attending parenting classes?
Well, I can't right now. I cannot physically go, but I already signed up with them but until I give them another negative result, then I am allowed to go in there. I do not want to, get people sick in case I carry the virus and I'm just not showing negative.
And where did you sign up for the parenting classes?
I called and I did it through the phone, through the pregnancy center off of Sherwood Way that Trey gave me. I called Trey and he gave me all that information. So I called and I asked them if I could sign up. So I signed up and they told me I gotta go. They have Mondays to Thursdays from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. And then they have Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I believe, from 10 to 12, something like that. I got it written down.
So you've received the information on when to appear, but you've not actually appeared at any of the actual parenting classes?
No, the parenting classes that I've done before for Serenity were online. I did a 4-hour course online that was actually on your CPS, Child Protective Services website. I went on the website and I clicked on the link for parenting classes online during the COVID when we were in quarantine, that nobody was allowed to leave. That's when I signed up and I did those. But I'm also doing additional, the ones that are required, because Trey said that the judge might not accept them, this and that. So I decided to go ahead and do those ones too, just to have my back and to get my daughter home.
Have you participated in the domestic violence classes?
No, ma'am, I have not.
In your drug assessment, did you let the assessor know that you had previously used drugs?
Why don't you look at the assessment, ma'am? You can see all those. I mean,
Your Honor, I'm going
Miss
to-
Navarro, you need to answer the questions that are asked, please.
I did not let him know of something that I have not done. No.
Yesterday, you testified evidence that you had previously used drugs. Is that
No, I
not
did not.
correct?
No, I did not. I'd never testified that in court. That's a lie. Don't lie on me now.
Evidence was put in that you had admitted to prior drug use. Is that not correct?
No, that's not correct.
So you don't recall the social worker?
That he lied, what he said yesterday, the lies he said, I do recall. Yes.
So you now deny admitting to previous drug use?
I have never admitted to previous drug use, Ms. Kingdom. I'm not a drug addict. I'm starting to get upset with this, Your Honor. I don't know why she continues to call me a drug addict.
Miss Navarro, I'm sorry if you're getting upset, but this is relevant evidence and you need to answer the questions.
Well, I've answered it to her since yesterday.
I'm not debating it with you. I'm just telling you,
Yes, Your
this
Honor.
is a question and answer. It's not your opportunity to ask questions. Your attorney can ask you follow-up questions
Yes, Your Honor. I
as we
apologize.
proceed. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Ms. Keenan.
Have you provided a list of all of your medications that you're currently taking to Mr. Davis?
Not to Mr. Davis. I did give him to Mr. Gonzalo Rios, and he was supposed to relay that to Trey Davis. At the time, I'm not taking any medication. During the past year, I have been taking medication, which was given to Mr. Gonzalo Rios. I'm not sure if my new attorney has that information or not, but I'd be more than happy to provide that list. It was also submitted as exhibits already to the court for this case.
Have you addressed your PTSD?
I don't have PTSD.
Have you obtained a psychological evaluation?
Yes, I have.
not a assessment, an actual evaluation?
Well, I went to my doctor of choice. I am at freedom to do that, ma'am. I don't have to go through the one you choose for me. I paid one out of pocket and I did it myself. I went and I got assessment or evaluated, and that's good enough for me. He is registered by the Texas Association Bar, and he's I don't know. Sorry, I didn't go through your people.
Has Trey gone over to you the issues with the document that you provided and why that's not a psychological evaluation?
Of course, he has.
And why the individual that you went to is not qualified to give a psychological evaluation?
According to who, ma'am, is he not qualified? To you?
Objection, non-responsive.
I agree, I'm gonna tell you again, Ms. Navarro, you need to listen to the question and answer the question. This is not your opportunity to ask Ms. Keenum questions.
Okay.
Ms. Keenum, do you want to re-ask your question?
Has Mr. Davis gone over with you those concerns on why that is not an acceptable psychological evaluation?
Yes.
Have you gone to MHMR to have an evaluation completed?
No, ma'am.
Do you have any copies of your documentation from your plea agreement related to the incident involving Serenity?
I do, and I can give you my probation officer's name, and you can call him too if you need to. I'll release a form of information you can have.
And have you provided the name of that probation officer to Mr. Davis?
He has not asked me, no.
What is the name of your probation officer?
Give me a minute. Bear with me, I'm pulling that up. Okay. Here we go. Grover Jared. Like Jared, the diamond, Jared. Grover, Grover.
And do you have an appointment date to meet with Mr. Jared?
Yes, I do.
And what date is that?
I don't know it off rip, ma'am. It's in my emails.
And is he located in Lubbock or is he in Tom Green County?
He's in Tom Green County.
And since yesterday, you were able to get this matter transferred from Lubbock to Tom Green County?
I've been transferred it, ma'am. I paid all my fees, so I transferred it. I can transfer it anywhere in the state of Texas that I choose to. So it's been transferred to Tom Green because I reside in Tom Green County for now. But yes, it's been transferred.
And
But
when,
it's still out of Lubbock. I will always be out of Lubbock.
and when was your probation transferred?
I don't know. I'll give you his phone number. You can contact them. Any questions you have regarding that, I don't know.
Okay, what is his number?
325-659-6544, and his name is Jared Grover.
Pass the witness.
Thank you, Mr. Harrelson. Any questions for Ms. Navarro?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Jeanette, were you notified of a change in placement for Serenity?
I got an email letting me know that Gilbert's wife's aunt was being like they had added her as on the list, but I spoke to Trey Davis and he told me that he was not even considering doing that she was going to remain where she was. So I said, okay. And that's when I provided him with the information from my cousin out of El Paso. He continued to reassure me that they were not going to move her. So I said, okay. I looked at the Odyssey records for Tom Green County, nothing pulled up. So I went ahead and said, okay, everything's good. I don't need to worry about it. So no, I wasn't notified. He said nothing was going to happen.
So to your knowledge, has she been moved?
Yes, I spoke to my cousin last night and she told me that my daughter had been moved Friday.
And that was from placement with your mother, correct?
Yes, sir.
Have you had any contact with Serenity since your arrest on interference with child custody?
No, sir, I have not.
Okay, and when was that?
The last time that I had any contact with her was the day that I got arrested in Garza County, sir.
And what day was that?
I'm gonna say November something of 2019. God, I'm not sure. It's been 2 years, almost 2 years, sir, that I've seen my daughter.
Now, on your probation out of Lubbock County, are there any orders that prohibit you from having contact with Serenity?
No, sir, all those were removed the day that I signed for the 5-year plea bargain with Lubbock County.
There's been some, Ms. Keenum had a question regarding what was purported to be your history of drug use in testimony yesterday. During Julian's case, the affidavit on file in that case said that you had admitted to some drug use, but it was 10 years prior to Julian's case. Do you recall that?
Yes, it's
And-
been over 10 years, correct?
Okay, so did you make that statement to, or did you make that admission that yes, 10 years prior to Julian's birth or over 10 years, you had used drugs, which would be over 10 years in the past?
To be precise, the exact time that I used drugs was back in 2006 is when I used drugs. 2006, I did cocaine, marijuana, and alcohol. 2006, exactly.
Okay, and Ms. Keenum's question was, when you did your ADAC assessment over the phone,
Mhm.
did you give that information to them?
No, because all it asked for was in the past, if I'm not mistaken, it said like the past couple of months. What it was referring to was months. And going back on months, I did not feel that I need to let them know what I did when I was 19 years old.
Okay, so you don't recall that there was any question about any drug history at all, just for recent history?
Correct, that's what I recall. Correct.
Okay.
You can get it.
Have you been maintaining regular contact with Trey Davis?
Yes, I have.
Okay, are you willing to work services on Serenity's case, just like you've stated you were in Julian's case?
Yes.
Okay, if the department, because of their procedures or guidelines,
Mhm.
has decided that the assessment, the psychological assessment that you went and got on your own
Yes.
does not meet their requirements, are you willing to do one at the direction of the department, a new one, at their cost?
I'm iffy on that. I cannot say yes and I cannot say no, but
Well,
I'm
you-
willing to go to somebody else, not a problem, but I just to go through their people. I don't trust their people. I'm sorry, but too much has happened that I don't trust them or their people. I mean, I'm willing, you know what? Yes, I'll do it. I'll do
Okay.
it.
And because my next question was going to be, you stated on the record yesterday that you were willing to
Yes,
cooperate
I'll do it.
and do what the department asked you in regard to Julian's case.
Yes, I'll do it.
Okay. And that you had realized that your course of action up to this point had not been beneficial for anyone.
Right.
And so that you were going to look at it or come at it with a different approach. Is that right?
I'll do it. Yes, I apologize. I get a little bit upset because I think of everything, but that's in the past. Let's move forward. Yes, I'll do whatever I gotta do for my kids. Let's do it.
Okay, so there's a service plan on Serenity's case. Are you willing to look at that service plan and work with Mr. Davis in completing those requirements?
Why not?
Just say yes or no.
Yes,
Okay, and the reason to do it for you is what is your new reason? What's your reason for your change of heart at this point compared to your approach up until this point?
because I realized that I was wrong. I realized that the way I was approaching things was not the right way, that fighting the system, getting mad at the system and feeling like, you know, they're just doing it against me was incorrect. They were doing it for the safety of my children, whether or not my, you know, my feelings of it was accurate or not at the end of the whole situation. What matters is that I do what needs to be done for my children. It's not about me. It's not about how I feel about with Miss Deborah Kingdom, if it's personal or not. At the end of the day, I feel that I'm gonna do what I gotta do to get these children home, because that's where they need to be, at home with me. All BS to the side. They need to come home.
Are you asking the court today to allow you to have telephone contact with Serenity?
Yes, I am. And possible visitation if I could.
Thank you. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Simons, any questions?
No, sir. No questions.
All right, Mr. Graves, any questions?
Hi, Ms. Navarro. How are you today?
I am good.
All right. You've testified yesterday as well as today regarding your probation out of Lubbock County. And Mr. Harrelson asked you if you have any restrictions based upon your conditions of probation for any type of contact with Serenity. And you stated that that was all dropped when you took your probation.
Right, the order of the no contact with the victim, which was my daughter, was removed whenever the charge was dropped from a kidnapping to interfering with child custody. It went from a first degree or a second degree felony to a state jail felony, and the no contact order was lifted. And I am allowed to have contact with my daughter. So I'm just asking and begging, pleading with you guys, the courts, that you allow me.
Sorry, let me stop you. Let me stop you there. I'm just asking that question. And you've just that was my next question, is that this originally was indicted as a kidnapping case, which is a much higher degree of felony, and it was knocked down. You pled it to a state jail felony for interfering with custody. Is that right?
No. I was originally charged with interfering with child custody. Once I was under Garza County, they changed it from interfering with child custody to kidnapping. They said that was what Tom Green County CPS had.
You just said that you were.
Let her answer the question, please.
That's not a judge talking to me. I'm gonna, let me stop for just a moment. Jeanette, all I'm asking you just testified that you were indicted for kidnapping is my question.
I'm not sure if I was indicted for kidnapping. I cannot sit here and lie to you.
That's okay.
Okay, I
That's
can
okay.
explain to you.
But you ended up pleading it to the interfering with custody.
Correct,
Okay, and that's a state jail felony.
yes.
And I think you testified yesterday that plea was done within the last few weeks. Is that right?
Something like that. About a month ago, June.
That's fine. Just within the last couple of months. Is that right?
Yes, June.
And you, if you recall, you testified
24.
yesterday that you are not able to recall all of your terms or conditions of your probation. Did they provide you with a copy of your terms and conditions of probation?
I got him right here.
So
From my
you've been
attorney,
given
Jody
a,
Meyer. Yes,
okay. And did you sign those and
Yes.
return those to your court?
yes.
Who was your attorney in Lubbock?
Jody Myatt, JODY at MYATTLAWFIRM.com. Jody Myatt lawfirm.com. Jody at myatttlawfirm.com. That is his email, and his name is Jody Myatt out of Lubbock, Texas. Do you need a phone number?
No, I can find if I need to reach Mr. Myatt.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Pass the witness.
Thank you. Ms. Keenum, did you have any other questions?
So yesterday you didn't have your conditions of probation. Is that correct?
No, I did, but when you asked me, I didn't recall exactly what they were. And I didn't want to be going through them while we were in the middle of court, but I do have them.
So you can provide a copy of those conditions of probation to Mr. Davis. Is that correct?
Yeah, not a problem.
Pass the witness.
All right, thank you. Any other questions for Ms. Navarro from any of the attorneys?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, Ms. King, next witness.
Yes, Your Honor, the department will call Trey Davis.
All right, thank you. See Mr. Davis. Yeah, if you could unmute your device, please.
Please
Thank you.
state your name for the record.
Trey Davis.
Mr. Davis, did you have an opportunity to go over Ms. Navarro's ADAC assessment?
I did.
And is there a section for her to disclose whether or not there was prior drug use?
Yes, there is.
And in that section, did she disclose that she had prior drug use?
No, she marked it no.
So is the department requesting that Ms. Navarro go back to ADAC and recomplete an assessment?
Yes, ma'am.
As far as the relative that Ms. Navarro provided to you last week, where are you at in looking at that relative?
I've gotten her information from her. I've run her backgrounds as far as Texas goes. She just moved here from Nevada. So we're gonna need to be getting a FBI background check on her. And so far, once I get the backgrounds on her, then I'll staff with my supervisor about the feasibility, but I've maintained contact with her. I've talked to her this week also.
Okay, so you've reached out to her. We did find out she's lived out of state within the time frame. She'll need an FBI background check that she has to complete on her own and provide to the department. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you recall why the department was not able to place with Ms. Navarro's father?
I do not recall why. I know that it was looked into and ruled out.
Okay, so you can work on getting with Ms. Navarro and her attorney, relook into that and get back with them as to what the issue was with her father and why we were not able to look at him for placement.
Yes, ma'am.
The child was moved, is that correct?
Yes.
And under the circumstances, did you provide her prior knowledge or what?
We don't, at this time, we don't share Serenity's placement locations or anything like that with Ms. Navarro.
And that comes from a history of prior placements and issue in El Paso and threats that went on very early on in this
Your Honor,
case.
objection, Your Honor, that's about as leading as it gets.
Same.
What are the issues that led to the reason why the department and the prior court orders that lead us to not share this information?
Currently, Serenity's now been placed in her 8th placement. Previous placements have been lost due to interference or threats from Ms. Navarro to the placements or surrounding the placements, including relative placements. And then after the kidnapping of the child in
Objection,
Lubbock,
Your Honor. Objection, Your Honor. That's mischaracterizing the evidence. There's no kidnapping.
yes, sir.
Well, I'll sustain it in the way it was used. Okay, go ahead. You can complete your answer, Mr. Davis.
After the incident in
Yeah.
Lubbock, after the incident in Lubbock, since then and due to previous placements disruptions, we no longer provide placement information to Ms. Navarro at this time.
And there are prior orders that prevent the department from sharing that information. Is that correct?
Correct.
There are prior orders that prevent Ms. Navarro from having contact with this child. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
As far as these changes in Ms. Navarro's status, have you had an opportunity yet to look and see what has been lifted yet as far as her, whether or not she's allowed to have contact through the Lubbock court or not?
No, she's told me that she's going to get me a copy of her probation orders and she was transferring her probation down here. So I was going to get that information from her probation officer to find out what the terms of her. So I don't know anything about the terms of her plea deal.
So you don't have any of that information at this time?
No, ma'am.
What is the department's position as far as visitation for the child?
We don't believe at this time it's in the best interest of the child. Serenity is going to, now in this placement, she's going to be getting back into therapy. And we believe that we'd like to get the therapist's recommendation and the therapist to discuss that and go over that with her and work her back towards visitation with the mother, if that's appropriate.
And what is the department's position on the phone visitation?
I believe that falls into the same category.
As far as the mom's services, what services does the mother need to complete for the department to look at possibly returning this child to her?
To this point, there's really been, besides maintaining a home and at times maintaining employment, there's been very little services that have been completed or done in order to observe changes after them. Drug testing, currently, when I request a drug test, she's going and getting them somewhere else. One time it was 7 days later. I can't accept that. And then when she drug tests somewhere else, even though I get the results, I don't know if those were observed tests, were those brought in tests. There's nothing on there to document any of that. And so I'm unable to accept those tests. And so testing, and then obviously the ADAC assessment and the domestic violence is very important and hadn't been started yet. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice today.
As far as Mr. Rodriguez, where are we at with considering or able to consider his fictive girlfriend's relative or that individual?
I checked with that and ran the backgrounds and everything. And I've talked to the, I believe it's the aunt of his wife. I don't know how that relates there, but aunt of his wife She has an RTB from a 2005 case. And so that keeps us from being able to start the home study process on her. I did send her a form that she could fill out and send to the department, allowing her to have that a reason to believe regraded or reassessed to see if they want to change it or not. And so I've given her that form so she can look at that also.
What is the current permanency plan for this child?
The current permanency plan is unrelated adoption.
And the reason why the child was moved from the relatives, they had absolutely no intention of keeping her long-term. Is that correct?
That's correct.
As far as Mr. Rodriguez, is he able to make any progress while he's currently incarcerated on his services?
We got the parenting course to him, but there's really not a lot of progress he can make while he's in there, just by the fact that he's in there.
And then how long again is his his sentence? Because he's in for a penitentiary sentence. Is that correct?
Correct. He's sentenced to the longest charge is 13 years, but I believe he's eligible for parole in 2022.
Pass the witness.
All right, thank you. Mr. Harrelson, any questions?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Davis, the information I have says that the drug tests that my client has done when you request, but at her own expense with her own provider, is through West Texas Rehabilitation Commission. Does that comply with the information you have?
That what says that she can do it through West Texas Rehab?
No, I'm asking you, are these tests that you said you cannot accept through West Texas Rehab?
2 of them are, yes, sir.
And where were the other tests?
The other one I don't know where it came from. It didn't have any identifying information on it.
And so it's your testimony that West Texas Rehab drug tests are not acceptable?
It's not acceptable if when we order it, we determine on there whether it's observed, whether it's monitored, whether it's none of the above, and all that. And all our tests are observed. I have no way on her test to know whether it was observed or not.
What's to keep you from calling West Texas Rehab and finding out what their procedure is for drug testing?
Well, their procedure is any of the above.
I'm not following you. Is there?
Because if she's gonna,
How do you know that? How do you know that their procedure is any of the above?
because West Texas Rehab used to be contracted through the Department of Family Protective Services also, and we used to order from them. And so you did have the same 3 choices with them also. To my knowledge, that hasn't changed unless they've changed it up.
Okay.
So therefore, even if they did change it up, then I wouldn't know that.
So it could be an observed test based on your knowledge.
It could be, but I don't know that.
Okay, so you're just willing to reject a test without any further inquiry on your part?
Well, typically you'd want the test. The difference between the 2 tests is just where they're taken. If she wants to go pay for it and have it sent, it's sent to the same lab ours are. The only thing I have is I don't know that it's observed. I don't have any documentation of that, and I don't have anything to follow through with that on.
I guess my question is, what's to keep you from picking up the phone and inquiring about that test as to whether or not it was observed?
Or to keep her from picking up the phone and
That's not my
getting them to
question.
provide the documentation?
That's not my question.
Mr.
Yes, sir.
Davis, you need to answer his question, please.
There's nothing to stop me.
Does the department desire Ms. Navarro to be drug-free?
Yes.
And is the department willing to make a reasonable effort to confirm whether or not she is drug-free?
Yes.
I have a copy of the judgment conviction out of Lubbock County for the offense of interference with child custody. It's cause number 2019-418825, 140th District Court. It also looks like it has conditions of probation.
Brad, could you give that number one more time? I
can't.
apologize.
2019-418825. 140th District Court, Lubbock. I will, just got these handed to me, so just to let y'all know, I'll be emailing those to you, Mr. Davis and Ms. Keenum.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Simons, any questions?
Yes, sir. Mr. Davis, how has my client been? Has he been working services?
He was starting to work services when he was out on parole. But since he got picked back up, he's been unable to work any of those services.
Is there anything available he could be doing in the jail?
There's courses in the jail, how they match up to his service plan. I'm not sure now that he's back in TDCJ. We can look at him and see if there's something that matches up. I know parenting, I believe he's got a copy of that he's able to do.
Have you had contact with him recently?
I saw him in the Tom Green County Jail last month, I believe.
When was that?
Last month.
And do you know when he left?
I didn't see, usually it shows up when they leave, but I didn't see when he left, no.
All right, no further questions.
For the record, he remains in the Tom Green County Jail.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Graves.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Davis, Mr. Harrelson was asking you questions regarding the drug testing and some of the services that the department requires, and was asking you questions as to why you don't pick up the phone, or is there any reason why you don't pick up the phone and make these phone calls? Is there a reason why the department has the services set up a certain way?
They're just set up so that we know how the process is being done and what we're getting and what the results will mean.
There's a validity issue. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
Would it be beneficial to the best interests of the respondents or the best interests of the children involved in these cases for the respondents to be able to pick and choose what services they participate in, when they participate in them, and how they participate in them?
It wouldn't be beneficial as far as the children of the case going forward now.
And particularly on drug testing, is that also correct?
Yes, sir.
Is it the department's goal to deliberately be difficult, to make things difficult for a respondent to submit to a drug test out of spite?
Making it difficult no, we try not to make it difficult to take the drug test. No, sir.
But there's a reason why the department asks for someone to go test within the next few hours typically. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And there's also a reason why the department asks for the person or directs that person to go test at a particular place. Isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
And is that because at those particular entities where they are contracted with the department to perform these, the department has guidelines that that actual entity is supposed to follow?
Correct.
Furthermore, what's the reason for the time limitation for someone to submit to a drug test when asked?
The testing is supposed to be random. So when you ask for it that day, then when they go in that day and take the test, then you know that they were taking it the same day that you asked for it on that random day. If you wait a particular amount of time, then you're not testing for that day. And then over time, what was positive or negative that day will change over 5 to 7 days.
So it's for validity sake, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
It's also to make sure that the sample is truly random.
Yes, sir.
If a person's allowed to pick and choose where he or she submits to a test, that doesn't really provide the proper validity, does it?
No, sir.
And does that also translate into the certain services such as the psychological evaluation?
Yes, sir. A psychological exam is a fairly standardized examination amongst psychologists. And so ours meet those guidelines, and there are others who we don't contract with who also meet those guidelines. But typically the ones we contract with will meet the guidelines of a full psychological.
Pass the witness.
Thank you. Ms. Keenum, any additional questions?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Harrelson, any additional questions?
Not of Mr. Davis, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Simons, any other questions?
No, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Keenum, did you have other witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Harrelson, did you have some other witnesses?
I don't, Your Honor, but I do have a matter of discussion, if you will, with the court and the parties during this hearing regarding this judgment.
Okay, we'll come back to that in just a little bit after I see if we get any other witnesses. Mr. Simons, any other witnesses?
No, sir.
And Mr. Graves?
No witnesses, Judge.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Harrelson, I'll come back to you about the matter you were mentioning earlier.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. In this judgment, it's obviously an e-file document. It's not actually signed by the judge, but it does say signed and entered on June 24th, 2021. And it is for a lesser included offense of interference of child custody. It has conditions of probation. It's 2 years probated for 5 on a state jail felony. It has conditions of probation, which include S, defendant is not to contact victim or victim's family, either directly or indirectly or by any other means. Further, the defendant is not to come within 100 yards of victim or victim's family, their place of residence, school, or place of employment. Now, the question is going to be, who is the victim in an interference of child custody? Is the victim the parents whose custody was interfered with, or is the victim the child? And that's going to need to be addressed here. I, for one, think that I don't think every person on probation for interference with child custody is automatically banned from further exercising their child custody rights. It might be modified, but I don't think that's banned. Jeanette is raising her hand, Your Honor. She may have something to clarify. I'm kind of leery of doing that without being in a breakout room.
Okay, well, I can arrange that if you want to visit with her about that.
I do, Your Honor.
If you'll stand by for just a second, I'll get that set up. All right, I'm sending y'all an invitation to join a breakout room. Mr. Hilson, I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes. If you need longer than that after you confer, we can bring you back.
All right, thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Rest of y'all just stand by. We'll be in a short recess. Mr. Navarro, you'll need a clerk to join that room, please. Mr. Navarro, have you went into that breakout room yet? Thank you. All right, Ms. Drake, I'm gonna bring them back in now. We're gonna go back on the record and cause number C190072CPS. All parties in council previously present remain present with the exception of Ms. Navarro, and I believe she's about to rejoin us here. Okay. All right, thank you. Mr. Harrelson, did you have adequate time to confer?
I did, Your Honor. And as I said, this was not signed by the judge. The only e-signature is from the DA. Ms. Navarro informs me that at the time of the plea bargain, under subsection S, the alternative was entered by the court, which is a box that can be checked that says, if all parties agree during the plea negotiations, defendant is allowed to reside with victim or victim's family. So based on that, she sent me the original ones or the proposed ones, and Ms. Navarro is going to resend the order of conviction and conditions that was actually entered by the judge, which, according to what she tells me, does not have any contact restrictions on victim.
Okay,
That's it.
thank you. Well, I don't propose to modify any orders, particularly until I've seen the actual version of them that's submitted. So if once you receive those, you want to file some kind of motion to address that, we can take that up at a later date, and then the department can address if they're still opposed to Ms. Navarro having contact with Serenity, they can address it at that time. And we can either take that up at trial, or if not, if it's filed before then, I'll try to get something set before then, so we can try to take it up prior to trial if possible. But I would suggest you file a motion with those attached, so everybody will have access to the same documents, and then we can address whether that would be appropriate to modify the current orders in place. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Anything else from anyone for today?
Not today, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. The court will continue the current orders in place. The department remains as temporary managing conservator. The next hearing, subject to any hearing about visitation, is the trial that's currently set on October 13th, 2021 at 9 a.m. I believe the dismissal date for the case now is December 1st, 2021. I'm required to notify any parent in this type of case that because of the nature of these proceedings, your parental custodial rights and duties to your child may be subject to restriction or even termination, and your progress on any court orders or planned service will be reviewed at future hearings in this case. If there's anything else, we'll be adjourned.